Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today is episode 16. We're talking about glutes, aka your butt muscle. And I have a special guest here today. So today, right, before we start, we actually have one activity to do because we have sponsored and it's a new product. And this guest today sitting here is a fitness educator in Malaysia, ACE certified personal trainer, rehab trainer essentials, and a lot more that I can list out if you want me to list it. Welcome, Sebastian Tan, to our show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Sebastian, so our first activity today is to allow you to drink the limited edition taro milkshake of Wolf's Protein. So today, I think you are the first guest who had this taro milkshake. Previously, because taro milkshake haven't launched, so you are the first one to try, and after that you taste it, you let everyone know like how do you feel, and you can tell whatever reviews that you personally think it is.
Okay.
Let's go. Honest feedback.
Wow, very nice. Feels like drinking ice cream.
Drinking ice cream. Is this good feedback?
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't like ice cream?
Yeah, who doesn't like ice cream?
So now you can enjoy your protein in a ice cream flavor.
Yeah, but sometimes, right, when people say like it feels like a melted ice cream,
Yeah.
that feels like not like a good feedback. It's unfortunate that your ice cream melt.
Well, in this weather, anything melts, but as long as the taste doesn't run away, then, well, I think it's not a bad thing.
Thank you. Nice. Yep. But I personally like vanilla actually. So when you have a chance, you can go back and try. You haven't tried their product yet, right?
Not yet.
Yeah. So go ahead and have a try.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully you enjoy. So today, since Sebastian Tan is here, some of the audience they haven't really get to know you yet because some of them are active powerlifting athlete. They haven't get into like personal trainers field. So can you introduce to them like your background? What did you do?
Well, in a very simple way of introducing myself, I'm a personal trainer. I've been training people for close to a decade now, 10 years. And I train clients from different background, from young, old, men, women, injured, not injured. So I help them to get fitter in many aspects in their life. Yeah.
And I'm curious, how did you started to like train more glutes training program? And yeah.
Well, in general, people have the impression that I only focus on training glutes. In fact, is that I train clients from different background, and that people who has weak glutes, they may have tendency of having other body pain, for example, lower back pain, knee pain can be due to weakness in the glutes. So training the glutes can be a part of the post-rehab exercise program. Yeah. Right. So it's not that I am only training people's glutes. I'm helping people to get strong overall. I do help a lot of female clients to be able to do chin-ups, help clients to get into loving strength training program, whether they are athletes or not athletes. I want to help them to get better in their daily functioning through strength training program. Yes.
Right. And just now you mentioned like some people when they have weak glutes that indirectly affect their lower back and something like this, right? Could you explain a little bit more like what kind of common problems that your clients face?
I mean, in general, not just my clients, but we can see that when the glutes is our hip extensor. So glutes is also the most powerful muscle in our body, other than the tongue. Tongue is actually the most powerful. So do you train your tongue? Yeah.
Tongue is most powerful muscles.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it why?
I don't know, it's just made that way. But in terms of skeletal muscle where you can train to move yourself, well, the glutes is the strongest, because glutes help with hip extension and a lot of things that we do that require explosiveness from our lower body. The glutes will do the work.
Right.
So for example, if let's say I want to do deadlift, I want to do power cleans, snatch, all this movement requires hip extension. So when the hip extensor, the most powerful hip extensor, is not firing up properly because they are weaker, then we will compensate with something else. So you can see that it's quite common that people do not drive with their legs during deadlift. They will feel that they are using the lower back more in doing things. But let's not talk about just lifting weights in the gym. It's more like people who are just normal people outside the gym. They want to carry something, they round their back, then pick up the box without properly engaging, using the glutes or the legs properly, then they will suffer from lower back pain. And then sometimes can be people who are very quad dominant, where the glutes are not strong, because when they walk up the stairs, they are also using a lot of the knee joint to do the movement, other than instead they should be using the glutes to drive the movement. Then the knee extension follows, or do it together, so that you don't only rely on the knees itself.
How do you start to train clients, like in order for them to be that strong, to do whatever, like carry stuff, heavy stuff, perform a good clean and jerk, perform a better deadlifts? How do you start to program their glutes training?
I don't usually teach clients. I mean, back then when I started to learn about post-rehab training, corrective exercise, we tend to have this assessment on whether a person is weak in this, weak in that, blah blah blah. We're trying to find out the weakness. But nowadays I have my approach changed, where I will look into the general movement. Maybe sometimes, like, a client comes in, they may be sedentary clients, so we have the assumption that the glutes will be weak, all that. But I will usually start off with teaching them the right movement first. Instead of spending the 20 to 30 minutes try to activate glutes and all that, I would go straight into learning the movement. Because sometimes, if let's say the client is a sedentary client, they have not learned how to do certain exercise correctly. When you start teaching them, they know how to do it, they may work the right muscle. So instead of us spending 20 to 30 minutes to do all the corrective exercise as a warm-up, sometimes it's better that we go straight to teaching them the movement. So when they know how to do it, they will start to,
Use the right muscle.
As when they get stronger over time, they know what muscle to engage when they do certain exercises.
Makes sense.
Unless someone comes in like with injuries and all that, we know that lower back pain can be caused by multiple factors, but we can just try and error on certain things. Then we may have to go with corrective exercises and all that. But in general, we try to go straight into teaching the movement. How to get a person deadlift better is by doing the deadlift. Unless the person do not know how to control their body.
So like some people, right, they said, okay, by doing correctly, they start off with glute bridge. Even my approach, sometimes I start off with bodyweight hip thrust to allow them to prime their glutes. So
I don't see it as a problem. Actually, it's no problem. Right. So it's like a lot of things are like case to case basis. So if let's say you have a client who cannot hip hinge, of course you spend hours asking them to do deadlift, it will be counterproductive. If a person cannot hip hinge, means that the person is just not good in coordinating certain body parts. Therefore, start breaking down, make the movement even simpler, isolate to different joint action can help them to move better. So teaching them how to hip hinge from a glute bridge approach is actually okay too.
Yeah, I understand.
So if let's say when a client comes in, they already know how to hip hinge, they know how to bend knees, they know how to keep the spine neutral when they do deadlift, then I don't see that we have to spend too much time on correctives. But of course, you can still do glute bridge, all that as a warm up, but not too much of that. If let's say your 1 hour training, you're spending 20 to 30 minutes into that,
on the activation
then it's
part.
too much of time spending into activation, and you have only 30 minutes to really train hard. So you're telling me that you want to train hard and grow muscle and grow strength, then you may not see result as fast. But of course, when we talk about this, it's a very general perspective, because sometimes clients come in a different level. Some come in as a very, very newbie where they have not exercised in their entire life. They may have issue in coordinating body parts, like what I said earlier, so that we have to break the programming into phases. So let's say you have an end goal of let's say you are short-term goal. Short-term goal is like in 3 months, this person must be able to do deadlift properly, let's say. So maybe the first 1 month, the person focus on learning how to hip hinge, learning how to use the glutes, like whatever you do earlier. So the 1 hour training, maybe 30 minutes is warming up, mobilization, because sometimes you will get clients who are older adults who have pain in their movement and all. You just can't force them to doing something. You need time. So as they progress, the next phase of training, they don't have to spend so much time in doing mobilization and all that.
Understand.
So the ratio of training changes over time. So when they become very skillful in doing a deadlift already, after 2 months of doing all the corrective stuff, the time of them spending to warm up with mobilizer and all that can be lesser and lesser. So there's no one size fits all. So it's more like, that's why we are personal trainer. So not everybody starts the same way, not everybody ends the same way, and not everybody are doing the same thing for the same reason. Some people do glute bridge for some other reason, some for other reason. It's like not to say that glute bridge means it's for activation. No, sometimes glute bridge is just a good way of isolating the glutes for hypertrophy.
Understood.
Make sense?
Yeah, you almost answer every question.
So fast.
No, I mean, you almost answer all the questions that people was asking.
Okay.
But anyway, so I want to ask, like, if let's say, because like you said, everything is case-to-case basis.
Correct.
And I think what we have explained is basically a general guideline, but when you drill down to a certain cases, and the approach must be a little bit different in order to maximize the potential. So I want to ask, so if let's say for cases like, let's say clients who has weaker on one side of a glutes, and when you are doing a hip extension, you realize that the hip is actually tilting to a side, a dominant side. How would you approach to this kind of clients?
So there are many school of thoughts. Sometimes some school of thoughts is like, people say that you just have to accept that humans are asymmetrical. So no matter what you do, you will not be exactly symmetrical. Okay, so it's not wrong to think that way, but sometimes we have to see the consequence of being too much asymmetry. So our training approach, usually this is how I look at. When I started as a trainer, I will always think that good form is very important. I still think that good technique is very important, because for safety purposes, you can maintain very good form while training hard.
Maintain good form while training hard.
Because sometimes people will argue that when it's your really 1 rep max, your form will break down, correct? If your form still maintain like really, really nice, maybe you are not pushing close to your max. There's some truth in it. But if let's say majority of your training, let's say 90% of your training are not 1 rep max, right? Maybe 1 rep max is the 10% of training.
Correct.
If 90% of your training is you train as if like it's your 1 rep max, the form is breaking down all over. Imagine what happened when you are doing 1 rep max.
Yep.
You get what I mean? So at 90% where we want to train close to failure, okay, like nowadays there are study sheets, a lot of study push that you don't have to train to failure to see results. So it's about 3 to 5 RIR is still great, right?
Yeah.
But that takes experience for us to build, to grind under good form. But the grinding under good form comes from we putting emphasis of the right technique.
Right. So how would you say that if you were to know how to grind properly, how to maintain a good form while training hard, it's also able to train people who have asymmetrical problems and, you know.
Yes. So but we also have to see, like what I say, let's rewind back, right? I say, right, asymmetry is something that we cannot totally fix because we are just not symmetrical. So your training as approach should be, we are aiming to reduce asymmetry instead of striving for symmetry.
Right.
Reduction of asymmetry versus striving for perfection. Because
Understood.
I don't think perfection ever happens.
It's like life.
Yes, so we strive to reduce that asymmetry.
Understood.
So like what you asked me, right? If let's say someone who has one butt is stronger than the other, hip will tilt and all that. So it really depends on the consequence. If let's say you are every day grinding, like let's say when you squat, your hip shift a lot to one side and your knee caving in, it's almost every rep like that. So maybe you need to do something about it.
Right. Understood.
But if let's say it's like, okay, out of the 10 reps that you do, 1 or 2 reps, it's normal.
But every single rep, that is something else.
Yeah, but of course there are people argue that bad form doesn't lead to injury, right? So there are a lot of school of thought.
You know, like, okay, this is just out of the context. Amanda Lawrence, one of the elite powerlifters in US. So she literally, do you know Amanda?
I don't know.
Right. Well, so when she trains, usually, most of the time when she put on social media, most of the squats attempt, the least and every single reps, somehow have a little bit of knee caves. And it's very obvious. And whenever she attempt in international stage, it's always caving in like very, very obvious. What is your point of view on that?
But you have to see knee caving in on the way up or on the way down.
Okay.
Because it's very common that the knee will twitch when it goes up.
Understood.
So when you're at the bottom of the squat, your knee try not to cave in. But if you're able to maintain the alignment of the knee until you reach the bottom, and when you transition to concentric, when you come up, right, knee caving in is just your adductors are helping you to extend the hip. It's not because knees are unstable. So really depends on how people see, and you can see that a lot of weightlifter do have some knee twitch when they do cleans. They do snatch at the bottom of the movement, right? When they come up, they will have some knee twitch because when you go deep enough in a squat, your adductor become the adductor will help you to extend the hip. Because at the very bottom of the squat, the glutes are like completely stretched. Okay, you will need that, what do you call, adductor to really help you to extend the hip.
Yep, makes sense. And interesting. But just something out of context, I'm curious. Like, is this also the reason is due to their joint pattern, their structure of their hips?
Potentially can be the structure of the hip, especially among the female, because their hip is a bit wider, so the Q angle is bigger. So the knee may already be caving in without them doing anything, because it's just how it is. But what we can do is that we can minimize the damage that can be done from uncontrolled knee caving. By strengthening the gluteus medius, where you allow your knees to be more stable when you abduct as you go down in a squat. So by when you come up, the adductor will help you to actually extend. Therefore, there is a knee twitch. Then you come up, then you can remain the alignment again. Then should not be a problem.
Nice.
But sometimes people are just more tolerant to injuries. So sometimes we cannot say that, oh, this person do this, no problem, means no problem for me. Because in general, when we are trainers, we train clients, we want to be as safe as possible. But when we know when to push, we need to read and understand our clients' movement pattern. Because some people will have a little bit more rounding of the back when they do deadlift. But to what extent we allow that to happen?
Understood.
It's just like when you do deadlift, and you can see a lot of powerlifters with lumbar flexion, right? And if they can maintain the rigidity of the roundness, they should not have a problem, because it's very stable. But if, let's say, when you lift off, you sudden jerk like dog pooping, right? You get what I mean? Like a fishing rod, like suddenly bend. Then that is when usually the concern is at. But if, let's say, a person who can deadlift, slight roundness of the lumbar, that can maintain that tightness, then great, shouldn't be a problem. But in the long run, we have to see that whether the person may have problem with the hip or not.
Understood. And okay, just to rewind back, like we talk about the asymmetric clients.
Correct.
Would you also consider to put in some accessories work for them to do something unilateral to help out, or?
Well, depending on the client's goal. So if, let's say, the client is a bodybuilder, like a bikini competitor, symmetry is very important. So when the symmetry is very important, it's aesthetically, from an aesthetic point of view, you need to be able to help the clients to achieve this somewhat symmetrical outlook. Therefore, you may have to do like extra volume for one side, try to minimize the bilateral movement, do more unilateral movement. For example, if a person has very obvious one butt cheek is bigger than the other. When they do hip thrust, they feel one side more than the other. So if you continue to do that one side will grow more and more.
So meaning like one side is stronger, and then you focus on the stronger part.
Because whenever you go really heavy, right, you tend to feel one side more. If you go light, right, both sides can feel. When we go really heavy, right, why only one side I feel? It's because your body knows that, this side cannot. We do use the most convenient way of lifting the things up. So therefore, you might want to, you can still do heavy bilateral movement, heavy hip thrust, heavy squat, but you want to have put in a little bit of volume into unilateral work.
Understood.
And I know that sometimes if you follow Brett Contreras talk about 2-to-1 ratio.
What's that?
2-to-1 ratio is like, maybe you do lunges. Let's say lunges, reverse lunges, non-alternating, just reverse lunges. You might want to do extra set for the weaker leg,
this is the next question actually I'm going to ask.
So Brett Contreras do recommend that. So for example, 2-to-1. So let's say I got 3 sets of lunges. So maybe my left side is the weak one. I have to do maybe 6, because it's double 2-to-1.
Wait. So meaning, like, if let's say, is it by the frequency, as in the sets differs, or by repetition? By the sets.
Yes.
So meaning, like, I can do 2 sets on the weaker side and 1 set on the stronger side.
Yes, you can do that if you are talking about 1 set. Must be double it. 2-to-1.
Okay,
it's double.
I should follow the guy later.
Yes.
When was this? It's not a study, right?
Because okay, the reason why sometimes I will follow what Brett Contreras recommend is because he's not someone who just talks about this theory. He has a lot of experiment done on the clients themselves. We call it anecdotal, means that based case to case basis.
Understood.
And his client produced a lot of really great results. So sometimes the case study may be applicable to someone, but in general, you cannot sway away too much from what the study says.
Understood.
You get what I mean?
Like the saying goes, theory can only bring us that far.
But theory is very important.
Yeah,
because theory serves as a
It
guideline, and then theory is proven or sort of being studied, and then hypothesis is like proven in many ways. And hypertrophy, you still have to do like in certain volume and all that.
Yeah.
But of course, when your clients have certain issue, you may have to try it case to case basis. So not everyone has to do 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just do more unilateral work, more single-legged stuff already can help. But some people after help still cannot, then you might want to approach to the 2-to-1. It's more like a anecdotal kind of approach. But in general, do more unilateral work that can help your clients to feel once the weaker side more, that encourage that feeling more, that it can actually give you that change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's something different.
Yeah.
So do you do that to your clients?
Yeah, some clients I do, but some I don't. Because sometimes, like I said, if the asymmetry causes problem, like make someone lower back pain one side. Is that very obvious? Like every rep of deadlift, one side is like feeling more than the other. Then maybe we have to look into it. If let's say sometimes it's the consequence is not detrimental, we try not to focus on things that can, like people say, like don't focus on one forest, one tree, then forget the forest.
Yeah.
It's just like nowadays that you can see there are a lot of biomechanic experts that they talk about have to do this angle, that angle, this and that, but then they forget to load properly. Because progressive overload is still the king.
Yeah.
No matter how well your technique is, different angle of pull, different angle of hip thrust and all that, but if it doesn't give you a progressive overload, right, your muscle just can't grow.
Yeah. Understood.
Because sometimes, like okay, give you an example, like a lot of females who want to grow their glutes, they're focusing too much on the feel, the isolation, the pump and all that. It is important.
The crab walk.
We can say that. Okay, let's say in general, like because female can be afraid of lifting heavy weights, but they want the glutes to grow.
Yeah.
But we know that if there's no progressive overload, right, it's really hard. And the mechanics of hypertrophy, right, it's not just the pump. We need mechanical tension, we need muscular damage, and then we need the metabolic stress, which is the pump. If let's say your training is all about the pump, doing the banded exercise and all that, rather than lifting heavy, then you will feel that, why my butt is not growing?
Yeah, that's true.
All those angles and people try and all that, but if you don't load heavy enough, you just can't grow.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, so must lift heavier words.
So talking about this, must lift heavy.
But the heavy is very relative. When we talk about lifting heavy among people, right, people always think that heavy means 200 deadlift, 200 squat. No, it's very relative to your person. Lifting heavy, the actual term we want to say is that people need to lift heavier relative to your own self.
Heavy.
Like 2 years ago, if I can squat like maybe 10 kg,
Yeah.
now I should be able to maybe squat more than 10 kg. Because if you are still doing the 10 kg, most likely they will not have changed.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So talking about training hard on the glutes, training volume.
Yeah.
For example, if we were to train a general population who does not have any training experience, how many sets roughly that you will predict or give to clients that don't have any knowledge or experience?
I think that depending on the exercise choices as well, because exercise selection is very important. You must have a combination of some compound and some isolation. Then we will decide how many reps and sets that we will do. So in general, if you are talking about muscle growth in certain muscle group, we want people to be able to do 10 to 12 sets per week. That one is like a minimum effective dose. So if you're a beginner, you do 10 to 12 sets per week. You should see improvement if progressive overload is being applied.
Right.
So as you become, when you become not a beginner anymore, you advance to intermediate level and all that. When you're more adapted to training, you can recover well with 10 to 12 sets. Then you can go higher. So maximum recoverable volume has being suggested is usually up to 24 sets per week.
Yep. That's like I think that one is almost like training 5 days per week.
Yeah. So so roughly about that. But if your training has a lot of compound lifts, you may not be able to do more sets. But that's why there's a range. Minimum 10, maximum 12. Minimum 12, maximum 18.
I understand. All right.
So you must have a ratio, like heavy stuff, maybe it's about 30%. Medium weight, medium intensity can be another 30%. And then really, really lightweight, 40%. So really, really lightweight can be those that you do for your isolation.
Oh, that's very insightful.
Yeah, but you don't forget that when you talk about glutes, right, there's a lot of overlapping muscles. So exercise selection wise, you want to do any exercise that involve hip extension, hip flexion and hip extension. So squat has been found in a very recent study where they show that squat and hip thrust, the muscle growth for the glutes is similar.
Oh, what study was that?
I think recently Brett Contreras posted about it. I think they do it with Brett Schoenfeld. I think you can check it out. So they have I think multiple people has put on an Instagram. You can read about it. They have shown two group of people who do they do squat and hip thrust. So end up actually the growth is very similar. But doing both also help with improving the deadlift, I think.
Right.
So improving in the squat can somehow improve your deadlift. Doing hip thrust will also somehow improve your deadlift.
High bar squat, low bar squat, is there any?
I didn't read in details, but in general, squatting, high bar or low bar should also engage your glutes. But one thing that people need to understand is that when you do squat, you are loading your glutes. You are challenging the glutes in a lengthened position. Means you have to squat deep. If you're not squatting deep enough, less stretch. Less stretch potentially means lesser growth. So when you do squat, you must do deep squat.
As in like all ATG.
I won't say ATG to a point that your butt touches the floor. It's more like below your knee.
Yeah. Understand.
So it's below parallel.
Below parallel.
Yeah. Then because that is when your glutes is fully stretched, and then with the weights that you put on, the mechanical tension should be high enough.
Right. So.
But hip thrust on the other way around is, it actually challenge the glute the hardest when it's being shortened, which is when you fully extend.
So one is lengthening, one is shortening.
Yeah. So it's like the peak tension is at a different area.
Correct.
It's still in the glutes, but the different phase of the movement. One is when you are really shortened, one is like when you are really lengthened.
Understand. I do have a question. So I saw most of the clients that you train, normally they are hip thrust performance. The plates always touches the ground and that consider 1 rep, right? So for some people, sometimes I counter this kind of question where they say, why do you need your clients to go down all the way to the ground? Can't I just do halfway down? Before I touches, there's more tension on it, and I can did that for like 1 rep. So
Okay.
yeah.
So so lead back to Brett Contreras himself did an experiment on muscle activation. So people always say that when the hip thrust does not load the butt in the eccentric phase. But it's not true. Maybe not as much as squat, but you will still feel the weight.
Yeah.
If you do it with control. If you ask someone to thrust it up hard and then drop, like straight away drop, then maybe the tension is low.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that if you go as slow, you go with control, you will help with stretching the glutes. Because anything that hip flex means being stretched. You hip flex means the glute stretch. If you hip extend means the glute tighten, shorten. So on all the way down, it stretches the glute fully.
Yeah.
So if let's say you can actually put down, touch the floor, but you don't want a fully dead stop, you will still keep the tension.
Right. So it's like, okay. So it's a full range of motion.
Correct.
And if you are doing, before you touch the ground, half range of motion.
I won't say it's half range. Actually, not touching the ground is also very good in terms of constant tension.
Okay.
Because the tension is always on, you don't have a rest at all.
Correct.
But if let's say if that's the case, why squat people go all the way up and still can train the glutes? You get what I mean?
So why squat when they go all the way up?
Yeah, if let's say we are going by the same theory, if hip thrust don't touch the ground, constant tension, right? Why squat we go all the way down and then we come up all the way? Tension also gone, right? But still,
okay.
But the glutes, the growth is still the same.
Right.
Okay,
so
but of course there's a bit more specific implication where if you really want to focus on the pump, the metabolic stress, don't touch the ground.
I see. What is the
metabolic
situation?
Stress, so really depending on your clients. If let's say my goal is so we don't want to judge a program just based on seeing one exercise. So let's say usually I have my clients do squat, deadlift and hip thrust. My clients they don't only do hip thrust, they do all even lunges and all. So that's why we have their glutes grow all rounded. Okay, so I will have heavy squats. Let's say heavy squats, and then I have medium weight squat. Okay, and then for hip thrust, I will also have very heavy hip thrust, where they focus on thrusting as heavy as possible, and I don't really care about. I put less emphasis, not I don't care. I put less emphasis on whether it touches the ground or not. I just want them to extend the hip as hard as they can with heavy weight because the peak tension is at the top.
Correct.
That's why we do hip thrust. We want the peak tension at the top, right? But of course, they also have accessory work where the hip thrust, we do non-touching the ground. So very heavy hip thrust, we will do it touching the ground because I want to make sure that they have very heavy stimulus onto the butt.
Correct.
Then when we are working on the lighter elements where they can focus more on the pump, so we can cover muscular damage, mechanical tension, and metabolic stress.
Then,
but of course, if let's say your client is an athlete where they want to focus on explosiveness, you want to start the hip thrust always from the ground, where no momentum, fully thrust up as fast as you can, you create that explosiveness on the hip.
So that goes to the specificity and
but sadly there are not many studies talk about implementing hip thrust into explosiveness. But if let's say if your clients are someone who can't do a cleans.
Mm.
Someone who cannot do a snatch. They want to train the hip to be explosive. Okay, then I would use hip thrust from a dead stop position to fully thrust as fast as they can, hold at the top. They will also should be able to help, because sometimes people will argue, why not you just teach someone to do cleans? But as you know that learning Olympic lifts is a very complex movement. Sometimes people just don't have the time to learn and all that.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say you have an athlete competing in 3 months. It's a sprinter. So you're sprinting, the motion involves a lot of hip extension when they sprint, right?
Yeah.
So they want that explosiveness, right? Well, of course, doing cleans and all that will create that explosiveness. But what if the person 3 months is going to compete and he has never done cleans in their life? And then we want to relearn and teach. Why not we use the most straightforward ways to help them through the 3 months? Then maybe after that we can implement cleans, snatch and all that after that. So there's always a place of exercise as long as you know the reason why you are doing it. Not just simply, the person do okay lah, I also do.
Yep. Wow. So I think we've covered training volume, the reason of trainings, and glutes itself, accessories, bilateral, asymmetrical. One more questions. Deload.
Okay.
Do your clients, I think your clients have been training with you for quite a while.
Yeah.
I believe there's some certain deloads training protocol into it.
Yeah.
How do you arrange it?
So really depending on what kind of clients I have. So let's say clients who are very consistent, where they train 4 times a week, no fail, no cancellation. We can actually really go with certain form of periodization. Then I will talk about deload about this. I will apply deload onto these clients, because basically they don't miss a week of training. They do a lot, and then you can see that usually guideline is like 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how intense they train. The more intense means the heavier they train, they need to deload faster. If they are not training very intense and they are not suffering signs of under recovery, we will stretch out to 8 weeks. So those clients we do deload. But let's say clients who train 1 time a week, twice a week, we haven't even load. Why deload?
Understand.
So we don't have to, because some clients just don't need periodization. Because I mean, in general, we have some idea what are we going to achieve. But sometimes, like clients of working population, they may not be as consistent. Sometimes they have cancellation. Sometimes they go off 1 week because of some work trip or their holiday. Then sometimes has emergency. Let's say kids got sick. 1 week they didn't show up. They got sick and all that. So, but in general, we need to know what is the client's goal, what are the important things that they have to do, but keep watch of signs of under recovery and all, then we do a deload.
Right. Wow. So let's talk about clients that who really train for years and they've been consistent. They don't really FFK you. They don't really miss your session. What kind of approach would you do for the clients? And when it comes to deload, how do you do the deload?
Okay, usually let's say 4 to 8 weeks, in either 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks, when they feel that there's a need of doing a deload. So sometimes I deload based on body parts.
Okay.
So let's say upper body is like, okay, not really tough.
Correct.
Like you still see progression. You can still see form is great. You don't see unnecessary ache somewhere, the joints doesn't hurt. Then they can continue. Sometimes it's like you train harder for lower body, then you will feel that, my joint is a bit achy already. And muscle is a bit tense all the time,
Yeah.
I feel that I can't recover fast enough for the next session, then yes, we can take a deload where you can either cut the volume.
So volume
Or
comes
you
to
can
repetition.
you can cut intensity as well.
Right.
So let's say I am going to do, let's say my clients, this phase of training, we have a lot of 3 to 5 reps. We can go maybe 40% lesser weight, still do 3 to 5. Or I can still maintain the same week, instead of 3 to 5 reps, I can just do 2.
Understand. So that one is okay. Let's talk about the big case to case lah. Like clients that who focus on higher intensity training, lesser repetition. Normally you cut off on the intensity, and generally clients who focus on higher repetition or they are adapting on higher repetition training,
You cut
we
the reps.
repetitions.
Yeah.
Whichever that is more tension, not to say tension, whichever that is more stress on that particular either sets or reps,
Yeah.
then you cut off on that one.
Yeah.
Or
But you
intensity.
can try on the clients and see what works better as well. Because sometimes we tend to follow in general what people do.
Yeah.
Like I said, theory can be a very good reference, but sometimes we want to see whether it works for this client or not. That's why people hire you to personalize certain things, including the deload, what approach that we use.
Yeah.
If let's say it doesn't work this phase, well, next phase we try where we want to take note, we learn from our mistakes
Data,
and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay, so there's another question is that I think this one get asked by my girlfriend also.
Okay.
We want to know, like, how do you give women confidence when it comes to training heavy? Because like you mentioned just now, a lot of women's scared of or maybe not so confident in training heavy.
Well,
Yeah.
there are many factors why people are afraid of lifting heavy. I think some men also feel the same, because usually people will have that mindset of lifting heavy equates to injure themselves. So if the fear comes from injury, then you make sure that you want to build your clients' confidence by making sure that we increase gradually. Try not to make big jump. So for example, like for beginner, usually if the movement has no problem, they can deadlift. We don't have to teach them how to hip hinge, they already know. Maybe first week 40 kg, next following week 60 kg.
Yeah.
Okay, even though we can jump up 60, try not to go with that approach. Say, okay, 40 kg looks really good, give them more encouragement, and let's try 50. We always check with them. Sometimes as coaches, we know when to push, but sometimes we need to know when to step back. Especially for beginners. But let's say your clients are really high performing clients where they like always want to go, then we know that when we can push the button. But sometimes your clients are really new, wow, today only do 40 so fast want to go, man. Say, okay lah, what do you think you can do? Maybe we do with 5 kg increment. Okay, great, can. Then do 5 kg. After that, ask for their feedback. How do you feel? Do you feel that you're in control? Then yeah, all that. What about a little bit more? Then the person say, okay, I don't mind trying, then add. If the client say, I think no lah. So sometimes we need to know that, okay, we give them some space. Because sometimes the person need time. It's not about just the body. It's the confidence, the self-efficacy. From the person, it requires time for us to, okay, we give them time to accept that they're actually getting strong. Then we push slowly. An increment of 5 kg, okay, no problem. Because we have seen clients that can't even add 5. The progress is slow, but some can be very fast. But let's go with like a very safe range of approach. I think some CPT courses, they do have a recommendation of maybe usually lower body you can add more weights, 10%. Upper body can be 2 to 5%. So let's say the person can do deadlift 40 kg. So 5 to 10% is how much? 10% maybe 4 kg.
4 kg.
So let's round up to a 5 kg. And they feel that, oh, okay, not bad. Next week, another 5% or 10%.
Yeah.
We take time. So as long as when they practice more and more, it requires practice lah. So for example, like yourself, you're training very heavy all the time, and 3 years ago you are scared of certain weight, but now you are not that afraid of that weight anymore. Why? Because you are doing the thing day in day out, and your confidence comes from doing the thing day in day out and do it successfully. If you suddenly jump like a big jump, a 50 kg jump, you fail one time, you still dare to try, you will be afraid a bit. Then you will take time to grow the confidence.
It depends. If it's Yujo that is watching, he won't. He will whack. Okay.
But really depends on certain people. They have different kind of approach and mindset, whether how confident they are.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, I think.
But that is only about
glutes.
No, like for example, that is about lifting heavy. But sometimes people they afraid lifting weights, not because they are afraid of lifting heavy, because they are afraid that they get bulky.
What would you explain?
I think that comes from the standard of beauty, which deeply rooted in the community itself. It's something that we can't just change overnight. But you can see that nowadays women are more likely to accept that muscular is also feminine. But maybe 10 years ago, no, because 10 years ago the standard of beauty are very different. As you know, that standard of beauty changes over time, different era, different centuries. We look at things in a very different way. So what we can do is we continue to raise awareness, because sometimes people just being afraid, some people just can't accept. Then some people are not willing to change. Then we just have to raise awareness by, you see, some people lift weights very heavy, they don't get bulky. And then what are the benefits of lifting heavy weights? So you can see that these days the trend in social media is like they tell people that must strength train. Strength training is non-negotiable, because people are suffering from a lot of daily functioning because they are weak. Especially when they get old, they are not strong, they fall down, they don't have the muscle to protect them, they have hip injury, they need hip replacement, knee replacement and all that. But this could have been, not to say prevented, I cannot prevent anyone from falling, but the risk of dying from falling become lesser if you have muscle to protect you. I recently have this new client that she's an elderly, and she fell down at home. She wasn't really injured, but she has no strength to get herself up at all. So she has to be lying down on the floor, but she can't get herself up because she has no strength.
How old is she?
Mid-70s. So from that incident, the person realized that, okay, I need to get stronger. But it's never too late for everything. So being strong is never a disadvantage. We cannot get too strong. We are never too strong. you get what I mean? We can always get stronger and stronger. But as long as we get stronger self, that we can help ourselves to function, then should be great.
That's so true. Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot to cover.
Is it too much?
No, it's okay. Sebastian, before I go to the Q&A session, where few of them is asking you questions. What else do you think you want to add on to audience? It can be non-glutes training.
I think you have a question for me the other day. You told me, what are the mistakes or something?
What is a common mistake that you did as a young PT and you hope your younger self can change, can be better?
I think mistake is more like something that I could have done better, where I should have advertised myself more, not about me training myself, more like I have to show what I do with my clients, because I know that things change better for me ever since like I put up testimonials of my clients, what my clients do,
Yeah.
share with people that the experiences that they have, how much they improve, focus less on me, more client centric when it comes to promoting personal training actually helps me better in recent years. Before that, when I first started, I always feel that no lah, I'm a bit shy to show how well my clients progress. I'm like,
How
okay,
well my
it's fine now. You know, I don't want to use this as a marketing tool and all that. So I focus a lot on my own training, put picture of myself, and then I create content about education and all that. Well, it's not bad, but I think generally clients, general population, they don't really emphasize so much that how smart you are. Of course, you need to be good enough, okay? But they want to know, okay, let's say I want to train with Ivan. I want to know how is it like training with Ivan. I don't care whether he handsome or not.
Yeah.
I don't care whether he talk a lot of theories online or not.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, so I know you are a PT, you should already have the knowledge, but I want to know, training with Ivan, what do I get? What are the other clients that experience, how they change training with Ivan under Ivan's programming.
Right.
I think clients care about that more because PT service is an intangible product, something that we can't touch.
Yeah.
So in order to get people, because people want to pay you like 150 ringgit per session, then they would like to know what do they get. I know Ivan is smart, but how do I know he is good in transforming clients? Because we know that there are many different types of coaches online where they spend too much time on social media, that they keep sharing info, which is great for other trainers, but not so much on getting clients.
Understood.
Because if you are very good in sharing a lot of information, trainers will follow you.
Correct.
But trainers
Clients.
may not be your clients.
Correct.
Unless you're an educator, you run courses.
Yeah.
Then yes, you want to share more info and all that.
Wow, that's so true.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So clients want to see what can you offer. How do they know is by looking at what you do with your clients.
Wow. So would you say like how would the promoting be like? Because promoting, it's actually quite sensitive to a certain extent. Some people think that by promoting too much of whatever that you are doing, it's actually, they don't look it at the right way. They look it like you are trying to do business lah. You're trying to earn money lah. So what is the proper promoting in your?
I think people have to understand that PT is a business.
Yeah, it is.
We won't do it for free because this is not charity. This is the fact, because when you're good at something, you don't do it for free. Right? So this is a business where people, actually trainers have to stop thinking like, I scared that clients just afraid that I just want their money. Yeah, we do business, we want money, but with the money that they pay, what do they get? So in summary, when we talk about trainer can market themselves better by showing what they can offer through their clients' training experience. So instead of focusing too much on posting about their own training and all, but what I want to say is that it's fine, it's your social media, you can do what you want, because sometimes we don't get leads from social media because we get leads from somewhere else. But if you want to utilize social media as a way to get leads, then you want to focus on showing a little more insight. Give your potential clients some insights at how is it like training with you. Are there more positive side of training with you? That would be a good thing to do.
Yep, I guess let's go into Q&A.
Yeah, okay.
Where we have a lot. Okay, before we start Q&A, Sebastian, we actually have the final 4.
Okay.
So it's actually a final 4 questions that I will ask, and you answer by from 1 word to 1 sentence.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a last final 4.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
What is the best fitness advice that you ever give? Not receive, give.
One word, not one sentence.
One word to one sentence.
Okay. Fitness advice. Able to train and exercise is a privilege because not everybody have that privilege.
What is the worst fitness advice that you ever received?
Too many. I can't. I have to think.
Catwalk.
Yeah. People say that cannot stretch your muscle after training because your muscle cannot grow.
What is one fitness law that you would like everyone to follow?
It's a bit tough. Okay, remember that fitness is very important aspect in your life, but do not make your life revolves around fitness because there's so much more in life than just fitness. But fitness is a very important aspect.
Wow, fitness is very important aspects. And our final four, the last question. What is your current fitness goal?
Well, I just want to maintain my exercise regime. Make sure that when I get older, I don't have problems. And make sure that when I go travel, hiking and all that to take photos,
it is.
I can endure the entire trip without problems. That would be great.
Wow. All right, let's go to Q&A.
Okay.
So we have few people. I think we have quite a lot. I'll just ask for like, I'll pick 3 of them.
Okay.
So this guy, it's D Botanicus. His name is Henry. He was asking, what warm-up exercises would you recommend for squat and deadlift?
Well, we usually warm up based on what are the joints or muscle group involved. And when you do heavy lifting, core activation is very important. You need to know how to brace properly. So your warm-up has to have something that get your core engaged, so you can do the McGill's Big Three. And then for lower body, it's like you can do some mobilizer that opens up the hip. Okay, stretch open up the hip, and you can squat deeper. Mobilize the ankle so that your range of motion is better. That's what you
ankles,
can do. Hips and ankle
and
core activation. That's what you need to mobilize.
And also I did ask him like further. He mentioned that when he did sumo deadlift, he's a sumo deadlifter, his adductor tend to feel pain.
Okay, so the inner thigh can feel pain. So is it after or during?
Oh, I did not ask, but I assume it's during.
So during can be because of the stretch on the adductor. So sometimes when you don't have the mobility to open the hip very wide during the sumo,
Then go conventional.
no, not necessary. Maybe have to do some mobilizer to open up the hip, so that you will have lesser strain on the it's a adductor, right? Inner thigh.
Yeah, inner thigh.
Yeah, so mobilize by doing hip openers, and then you can do some side lying hip raise for the glutes because the abductor will open up the hip. Then it allows you to have that better mobility where you can go into a sumo position with the knees open up. Then you can drive better from the feet.
Right, there you go.
But this is just a general because I don't know what is your condition, so this is what I can say.
For more information, slide into his DM.
Oh, okay.
So a second question asked by my girlfriend, how to give women clients confidence during training?
Give them assurance. So basically, like I think just now I mentioned, you can increase weight gradually. So after every sets, you can give them words of encouragement, and you can even ask them permission to record some videos that show them that you are doing this very well. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Give them some visual kind of encouragement, verbal kind of encouragement as well. So just basically be there and give them assurance that they can actually do it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll pick. It's Sinyi. Next question. I had a prospect who want to grow their glutes, but not their thighs. How would you explain to them?
Okay, so I know that this is actually it's very common thing that people want to have big glutes and then have slim thighs. Well, you can choose the exercise. I mean, it's not easy to do that because most of the time, the exercise that we train glutes will involve the thigh as well. Okay, but you do see that some bikini competitor that they don't grow quads like really crazy huge along with the glutes. So they grow the glutes quite in a good proportion where without the quads grow out of proportion, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps you want to focus, the exercise selection can be more biased to only glutes. So like you can even, okay, now I bring back that example, right? The squat and the glutes give you squat and the hip thrust give you similar amount of hypertrophy.
Squat and
But squat involves a lot more quads. So you might want to minimize the volume on that, focus more volume of the hip thrust. But in reality, your thighs will somehow still grow while your glutes grow bigger.
So, would you explain like this to the clients?
Yeah, I will explain to them because sometimes they may get ideas like, oh, why this girl on social media like that? But a lot of content on social media is being curated and people use filter to make their thigh look slimmer while the glutes are going out of proportion.
Extra pillows.
Yeah, and then you've seen that videos before where people put something in the pants that make the glutes look bigger. But of course, I do have clients that grow the glutes quite big compared to the quads. It's also because of the genetics. Because sometimes people have the genetic to grow the butt bigger because of the structure of the glutes. If your butt muscle insertion is like shorter, it will always look like thicker. If your butt is like those are very long insertion into the thigh, right, you may look like it's a bit flatter. So it all comes down to genetic that will actually determine the shape of your glutes. So sometimes what you see on Instagram doesn't mean you will get it because this is not something that you order. I want this, I get that. But no matter what, you have to do the work, focus on a lot of exercise that can make you train the glutes and with progressive overload.
That's the truth.
Always
explain the truth. Okay, I'll pick more. I think this is a quite interesting question also.
Okay.
Carole Wansha, how do you strengthen both glutes can reduce the pain of hip arthritis? I think he's trying to say how do you use glutes training to help with hip arthritis for elderly clients.
This is something that may not be the best person to answer because I rarely deal with any clients who has arthritis. But from what I understand, people with arthritis, you might want to do more of isometric work. So you can work with control, teach them how to contract the muscle with isometric exercises like maybe a pause glute bridge, pause hip thrust, pause squat. That may help them. But I'm not the best person to ask about arthritis because this is a different kind of medical condition that some sports doctor will be better to give advice.
That's so true. Don't ask me, Carol. Don't ask me. Okay, next one is Habilicious Way. She is my client. She asks, what is the best exercise to get rounder and faster, and how frequent do you train? I think the episode has already covered the explanation.
So she's your client. Okay, ask Ivan. Because Ivan already learned just now.
But she's in a very good progression so far.
Okay, you are in good hands.
Last question. David Yap, are there movements that solely train your glutes or butt? Yeah, I think the episode has covered lah.
Yeah, there are some exercise, but I won't say that solely train your glutes, because there are many extensor being attached. Like hamstring is your hip extensor, glutes is your hips extensor, adductor can also be hip extensor. So you won't like only focus on glutes, but you can do movement that anything that involves hip extension, it should train your glutes.
He's also my client.
Okay, ask him. Why they never ask you before the episode?
No, I mean they wanna know more ma. That's why we come up with podcast ma.
Okay. Can.
Yep, I think that's it. I just want to add on, like, last but not least, I'm very grateful for Sebastian to come into our podcast show. It's been a far journey that I've been through, and you know what? I just want to tell you one story where when I started, before I become a full-time personal trainer, Sebastian is the one that usually I ask for advice. And I'm very thankful that even until today, it's been, I think, since 2018.
So I want to ask you, what is the best advice I give you?
Not advice, but the answer that he always answering is giving me space to have critical thinking. Yeah, I think that's the best thing that I've ever got from Sebastian. So, yep, if you haven't know who is Sebastian, do look up in his social media. Link is attached down below. And if you want to learn more from Sebastian, he has sometimes workshops launching to help personal trainers.
Not anytime soon yet.
Not anytime soon yet, but maybe. Who knows?
Maybe, yes.
Yeah, and yeah, I generally so thankful about this episode. It's been a great episode so far.
Okay, thank you.
Any last word, Sebastian?
No, this is my last word.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
If you do like this episode, feel free to share with your friends, your family, your clients. And if you do feel like you learn something, try to tag us in social media and let us know what you have learned, and perhaps let us know what do you want to learn more in the future. And hopefully, if you like Sebastian, he can come on to another new episode.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the last few episodes as well. I'll see you and we catch up on the next episode. Bye.